Hello and welcome to the Healthy Habit Blueprint Masterclass. Thank you for joining me today. I will start by introducing myself and just saying I am Dr. Frundi, Dr. Lum Frundi. I am a pediatrician and founder of Generational Wellbeing and really passionate about helping parents to create healthy habits. So, of course, this is about the healthy habit part. So, again, this is the Healthy Habit Blueprint Masterclass. Um, so I will start with statistics because this is really important for why I am doing this right now. Because at least 6 in 10 Americans live with at least one chronic disease condition like high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer, or experiencing stroke at early ages. And these chronic disease is not just, oh, I have diabetes, I'll take medication and that's it. It's not a one day, it's not a 1 year thing. It's a disease condition that you continue taking those medications day after day, year after year. And if it's not properly managed, you end up with complications that will lead to disability. Say, for example, most people, long term complications for a condition like high blood pressure and diabetes is kidney failure. So you end up with chronic kidney disease and end up on dialysis. Some people, it affects your eyes, it affects your extremities. Every part of your body is affected, and you end up taking more and more medications as you age. And as a society, we've associated all of this as a normal aging process, like as something that as you age, you will end up with these, as you age, you end up with disability, but not necessarily so because as we do more research, as we get more information, we're finding out that most of the disease states are actually can be managed or controlled or reversed based on our behavior and based on our environment. Also, when we get to that point of diagnosis too, it doesn't start when you get diagnosed with diabetes or high blood pressure. It starts way early in life. And now as a pediatrician, we are now checking lipid levels. We're checking blood pressures frequently because we're now starting to see changes in the vascular system of kids as early as 11 years old and stuff. So these, when you get to the point of disease, it's not where it starts. It's just the point where your body is not able to compensate and bring itself back to balance anymore. And as a result, you start having those disease conditions. So, with that being said, I will start with my why. And I start with this because why you do something is very important, especially if it's something challenging, especially if something where you want to continue doing over and over. It has to be something beyond you. So, for as far as my background goes, I too have a family history of high blood pressure. I too have a family history of diabetes. I'll say my both parents, both my mother and my father, most of their siblings have high blood pressure and are taking at least one or two medications to control those or manage those symptoms. And with my generation part of it, most of my older siblings have high blood pressure, and even my sister ending up with a heart attack in her 30s. That's how great of the family history I have. And for my personal history, I got diagnosed about 4 years ago. And when I started taking the medication, I experienced a lot of side effects. It was just like wearing me down and really inhibiting. So I decided to start practicing what I've been preaching for all these years. And as I started making those changes, I discovered how hard it is to initiate and really start and something that is sustainable. So I had to find something, a reason beyond me, a reason behind me to continue on, not only for me, but for my kids. I do it to make sure that I want it to end with me. I don't want my kids to end up having to struggle to go through what I went through. I want to start modeling those behaviors. I want to eat healthy so they see me eating healthy because guess what? We end up doing what we're most familiar with. We end up doing what we see our parents doing. And when we continue in those habits that lead to disease, and then we end up at that state and say, oh, it runs in the family. So it's something that I kind of expected to happen anyway. So when it happens, it doesn't come as a surprise, but something that we've been waiting for. So start making the changes not only for you, but also for your daughters, for your sons, for your kids. That way they can start seeing the right way to live. So, what are habits? Again, when you come in, put it in the chat and let me know where you're coming from. So, what are habits? So these are like things we do every day. It's just activities and behaviors we've done every single day that have just become automated. And we do it without even paying attention to whether this behavior that we may have started in one season of life is still serving me or not serving me. So whether the behavior is serving me or not serving me. I'll go back to the slide of habits. Yeah. So why do you cook the way you cook? Why do you do the things you do? How are your current habits currently serving you? So I will preface this with a story I heard recently about a young lady who was cooking, and every time she cooked her turkey, she would cut it in half before putting it in the oven, and she did it that way for so many years because that's how her mother did it. So when she was asked why she had to cut the turkey before putting it in the oven, she said that's why her mother did it. And when she finally asked her mother why she did it that way, her mother did it because her oven was too small to contain the entire turkey. So she had to cut it. So years down the line, even though this lady had a bigger oven and didn't need to cut it anymore, she continued doing it out of habit, even though that habit was not serving. So as we go through the slides and as we talk through the healthy habits, it's a way of you reflecting to see what are your habits, what are you currently doing, how are those particular things or decisions or behaviors you're doing each day serving or not serving you. So at the start of every, besides the why, knowing why you're doing what you're doing, you have to start from yourself. Because a lot of times when we try doing things and they're not working, or we see, oh, I have a friend who's gone through this ketogenic diet or this other diet or new diet that came up and it helped them. And we start doing things that either work for other people or doing things that we think we should be doing, not really paying attention to how our bodies responding to our actions. So a lot of times, like I said, because the habits are automated, we're not stopping to see how our bodies are reacting to those behaviors. So in order for you to start, you have to start by some kind of reflective thinking, where as you start going through your day thinking, why am I really making this decision? Why am I stopping by this coffee shop to get that latte? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And how do I feel after doing it? And once you go through that reflective thinking process, journaling is a great way to kind of understand your state, your mindset, or your mindset, or your state of mind. Once you understand where you are, it's easier to then start making decisions either geared towards that balance or geared towards healing and health, right? As you journal your activities throughout the day. Not everybody journals the same. You find the way that works for you. It could be just writing down bullet points works for some people. Some people are storytellers. I've had kids who would draw, and you can, based on your drawings, you can kind of determine their state of mind or where they are and stuff. Meditation is amazing for this. That's another habit that is healthy. It's healing. A lot of people have a hard time starting, but starting in bite sizes is what we usually say. Start, even if it's 1 minute, and that 1 minute may be the longest 1 minute when you first start, but it's about repetition, bite size, and repetition. And as you start journaling, as you start reflecting, acceptance is really important aspect of that, because sometimes as we start seeing our behaviors, there's a tendency to start looking back and regret and shame and guilt and I've done this so many times, it never works for me, and then get into that really low energy state that keeps you from moving forward. So acceptance is like, okay, this is where I am, this is where I've been, but really starting accepting who I am, where I am, accepting my starting line, right? Every runner has a different starting line. You can't want to start running a marathon and get up tomorrow and compare yourself with someone who's ran 10 marathons. Like, I could never be that person, but he started from somewhere or she started from somewhere. So create or draw your own starting line, accepting where you are. And as you pay attention, you start making those changes in those areas that are where you want to make the changes in first. Those areas that are most important and most critical for you to start making the changes from. So as we go through, I'll talk about the sleep, the nutrition, and the exercise and stuff. And as you start reflecting, you know the areas that you're either way out of balance. If that's where you want to start, you start where you need to start and kind of build onto that. Um, So what is wellness? So wellness is really, it is balance, right? Wellness is it's really um, um, healthy habits that support a joyful and energetic body. So it's not about the weight you are. It's not about, or it's not about the weight. It's not about anything, but it's about having that body that gives you energy, that you're joyful with, that allows you to thrive and do what you need to do. So everything in our system thrives for balance. And if you go out of balance one way or the other, everything is going to try to work towards bringing you back to balance. But as you start doing the reflection, as you start doing the journaling, and you find those areas and you start paying attention to your body, you'll find those areas of the things that you're doing that are getting you out of balance and are declining or kind of depleting your energy. You want to kind of prioritize and move away from doing those things that are taking away your energy and give energy and time to those things that make you feel whole. Um, so the whole idea is really aligning yourself to your particular flow and creating those habits that will serve you, creating those habits that will give you the energy with you need, creating those habits that will give you that joyful and energetic body. Okay. And setting expectations too that are right, because sometimes we want to, oh, I want to lose 50 pounds in 1 month, and then you start starving yourself. You start doing a lot of things that are going to take you further away from balance. It's like taking a big bite of food, but you cannot really savor the food or enjoy the flavors because you're struggling to chew on that big mouthful of food, as opposed to taking bite sizes and really chewing and enjoying and really experiencing the food. It makes a huge difference how your body reacts to things like that. Okay, so habit forming. Habit forming, a lot of times, like I said, with the example of the lady who was just cutting, it's usually because of an inciting event. It's usually because of something that either you saw someone doing as a passive habit, and you just continue doing because that's how we've always done it. And sometimes it could be triggered by stressful situations. Stress is usually one of the big things that will trigger like the maladaptive habits. So maybe I overwhelmed or have my schedule booked where it's getting into my sleep. I'm not getting enough sleep. And then when I wake up, I don't wake up refreshed or restored. And on my way to work, then I have to stop by this coffee shop and get like this big extra grand large mocha with all the good stuff in there. And as I drink on it, it feels good. It's rewarding. And before I know it, even though I may have started in a season where I was overwhelmed, I've continued on with that's what I do now because of the rewarding effects I get from that big latte. So I do it every single day without giving it any thought to how that is affecting my well-being. So a lot of times when you start with habits, usually from stressful maladaptive habits, it could be I'm stressed out, so I start emotional eating because when I'm stressed out, like I see that big bowl of donuts or sweets or candy and stuff, it kind of feels good to do that. It takes me away from the stress and I want to eat it more. So before you know it, you end up with that maladaptive habit. So as you start working on creating the healthy or switching over to the other side, you want to make sure that what your habits are that you're trying to initiate are rewarding. We're looking more at the reward and not the consequence. I'll give an example for myself. As I started exercising, I decided I was going to go through like a boot camp event because I wanted to lose my baby fat fast. So as I started in this 6 week program, needless to say, 2 weeks in the program, I was exhausted. I was so tired because it was constantly pushing me beyond my limits, and I was adding something into my schedule that I could not really necessarily, it was not sustainable. So at the end of the day, every time I go in there, I'm thinking more about the consequences of after that gym or after that workout, I'm going to be exhausted. I don't have time to do dinner. I don't have time to do all of this stuff. As I continue to look at the consequences down the line, right after the 6 week, I didn't exercise for months because every time I think about it, I'm thinking about the consequences rather than the rewards of exercising. So as you start, you want to make sure you're looking or doing what is rewarding to you personally. So as you work on starting maybe your exercise routine. Find something that's rewarding to you. It doesn't mean you have to stay in the gym like 2 hours, 3 hours. It may be a walk in the park. It may be running. It may be a Zumba class. It may be cycling. Just something that you know that as you do it, you get some kind of a reward, because once you do something that's rewarding, it's easier to continue with it. And then set boundaries too. You want to make sure you prioritize those habits and set boundaries around the time. That way, you know that it is done. Because a lot of times, if we don't set clear boundaries around our time, everybody else is going to take it, because something is going to happen somewhere. So we'll end up prioritizing other people's values over ours, and then we end up in a state of resentment. So it's important to set boundaries. That way, you're consistent. And then again, the expectations. You want to make sure you're taking small bite sizes and enjoying the journey, rather than shoving the food in your mouth and then have it struggling with the chewing and stuff. And then we go back to that consequence rather than the reward. So let's start with sleep. I love sleep. That's where I always start, because I believe sleep is the most misunderstood habit. It is and it is the foundation of all healthy habits. Because with sleep, when your sleep is out of place, it affects every aspect of your health. Sleep is needed for your immune system to function. There have been studies that have showed that people who have lack of sleep have a higher rate of having even getting common colds and stuff like that. Sleep helps with emotional regulation. It helps with depression. It helps with your body's ability to process and digest your food. So sometimes when you start out like, okay, I'm going to get on this diet, I'm eating all the right things, but yet I can't really digest the food I'm eating, you may have to go back and think about your sleep. Because if you're not sleeping right, your body's not able to digest like it's supposed to. Sleep is also involved or helps with regulating your hunger and your cravings. Think about a night where you had no sleep and stuff. The amygdala, which is the reward center of your brain, is more active. And the area of your brain that is involved with cognition and logical thinking is depressed. So eventually, as you lack of sleep, you're tired, you're exhausted, your amygdala is active, so you're more likely to binge eat or to give in to the cravings and stuff like that. And when your body has lack of sleep too, you're not able to lose weight, because it's holding on to the fat that you're trying to lose. So sleep is extremely important, but highly misunderstood. And sleep is really important for healing, especially in the season where there's so many viruses, so many infections and stuff like that. One thing you can do for your immune system is sleep. So though I have listed here some sleep habits or some things that you may be doing that may be keeping you from really starting that and establishing a routine for your sleep. Sometimes it's like, well, you work and I'm stressed out. I had a long day at work, and you have the habit of just, launching in front of the TV, and then you're flipping through the TV, start watching, and you have that accidental nap in front of the TV. Sometimes when you do that, that takes away your sleep pressure. And then when you go into the room, it's hard for you to go back to go to sleep. Or you come back and you have that drink of alcohol, a glass or two of alcohol. Alcohol is kind of a sedative, and usually it may get you drowsy, but throughout the night, you have more frequent awakenings. So when you have that in your system, you wake up, and even though you had maybe even up to 7 hours of sleep that night, you're not having any kind of restorative sleep, because you're waking up more frequently at nighttime. So you still wake up feeling tired. Lights is a big one. Lights, whether it's in front of the TV or tablets and stuff like that, all of that light really inhibits the body from producing the melatonin that we need to kind of initiate sleep, because we have to go with the natural light and darkness outside. The reason why it's day and night, because during the daytime, you have one hormone, and during the nighttime, the melatonin, your body produces melatonin to get you to that state of sleep. The light blocks it. So a lot of times, there's making sure, especially if you're having a hard time falling asleep, making sure we're turning off the electronics and all the light sources off, or dimming it down as we start getting ready for bedtime. And if you have like dark shades in your room, that's really good. Or if you want to wear a shade like the picture, you could do that just to keep that light out. And Speaking of sleep too, if you've had an issue with sleep for a while, it's not just going to take just turning off the lights and then I'm going to go to sleep. So sometimes it's a process. Your body needs time to really shut down. So if you're having a hard time and you want to start, you have to start making those changes at least an hour, or getting some kind of a routine at least an hour or even 2 hours before you get to the point where you get in your bed and go to sleep. Caffeine is a stimulant. Sometimes we don't under it's hidden in so many things. I've seen a lot of kids who have sleep issues, and when we start looking at why they're looking at the diets or what they're doing prior to sleep, and they're just drinking sweet tea with dinner, and most of the teas have caffeine in it. And when you have caffeine at that time, it's still like you're trying to go to sleep, but you still have that stimulant in you, so you can't really fall asleep. As a result, we have these kids sleeping very late, getting 5 hours of sleep, and they're super hyperactive, irritable during the day. And your environment, again, is really huge, where you have to make sure it's nice and dark. You want to make sure your sleep is a secret place where you go to sleep only. You want to make sure you're not doing work and all the other things in your sleep, and you want to make sure it's nice and cool, because your body needs that to bring down its core temperature before you can actually go to sleep. So if you start out super hot and stuff, sometimes think about it, sleeping when it's hot, it's usually difficult, right? So you want to make sure you're creating the right environment for your sleep as well. Nutrition, that's the biggie. So a lot of information about nutrition. We have a lot of health information, health tips about nutrition. However, we're still seeing a lot of people eating a lot of sugary beverages. Not to say people are eating it, but it's just hitting in so many things. And I saw a statistic that shows an average American eats up to 152 pounds of sugar a year. And unfortunately, it's sugar is hidden on most of our meals for our kids, where most of the kids are eating a lot of sugar, whether it's in any of the packaged foods, there's always added sugar in it in one form or the other. And because of this, we're now seeing teenagers, a lot of teenagers over the last 2 years being diagnosed with diabetes or pre-diabetes. At least 1 in 4 teenagers now are being diagnosed with that. And because then why is the sugar bad? Because when we have that sugar and our body has a lot of sugar, it produces and releases insulin. As insulin sits in the bloodstream for an extended period of time, over time, our body is not responding to it. So you end up with the insulin resistance that comes with a diabetes, overweight, hormonal issues. So the list goes on. Now, when it comes to eating habits for nutrition, um, really just making sure you're eating clean. Whole foods are better. What you recognize, local and unprocessed foods. Healthy fats are amazing for your brains. And when you want to supplement wisely, because I mean, right now it's difficult to get all your nutrients from the food you eat, just because of the depletion of the soil quality, and with the amounts that you have to eat to be able to get what you need. So supplementation, yes, it's good, but it's not. Most of the supplements, actually all the supplements, are not FDA regulated. So you want to make sure that as you start supplementing, you are actually supplementing with the right supplements. You want to make sure that you're reading the labels, you're looking at what's in the bottle of the supplements. And do they have like a third party who's regulating it to say that they're actually what is in it is what they say is in it, whether it's with the multivitamins or probiotics or anything. You want to make sure there's some kind of third party stamp to say that someone is actually going back to make sure that the claim that whoever is producing this in the bottle is actually right, because they've taken supplements off the counter and done some kind of studies on it, where, say for example, melatonin is one of them that was done recently, where the bottle may say 3 milligrams of melatonin, and with the different pills and stuff, you could get from anywhere from 2 to up to 6 milligrams. That's how wide the range was. So you want to make sure you're supplementing wisely. Now, when it comes to the eating habits and nutrition, you, again, paying attention to your body, you know what your struggles are. Unless you really know what your struggles are, it's really hard for you to um, start making the changes that are necessary for that. So whether it's how paying attention again, being reflective of that. How much water am I drinking? Am I really drinking water or am I drinking calories? Do I drink water? And how do I feel after I eat a meal? Do I feel gassy? Do I feel bloated? Do I keep burping and stuff? That's your body telling you your body is probably not processing that particular thing you're eating. Am I skipping meals? Why am I skipping meals? Is it because I'm stressed out? Again, if stress is the reason why you're skipping meals, you may want to go back and deal with that stress, because when we're stressed, we're not able to absorb food. And we're not able to absorb food, we end up bloated and stuff. And am I eating until I'm full? If you have that issue with emotional eating or binge eating, or have that tendency where you eat until you have to kind of unbutton your pants and stuff to kind of get a breather, you may want to kind of go back and say, how can I manage that? Maybe drinking a glass of water before mealtime, or eating some kind of a fruit before mealtime and stuff. That way you're not super hungry before the meal, and as a result, reduce the amount of calories. And then the time of your last meal. Your body processes food differently at different times of the day. People, the same meal you eat after 7 p.m. is not processed the same way you eat that same meal at 7 a.m. So when you're eating at nighttime, people eat at nighttime and not able to digest as good. So it's better to have those heavy meals early in the day and kind of reduce the load at nighttime, because that also not only is your body not processing and digesting it well, it interrupts with your sleep. It interferes with your sleep. And remember, sleep is a critical part of everything too. Exercise. Exercise is amazing, more so for learning, for memory, just like sleep is too for memory and learning and stuff. Exercise is good for energy. A lot of times we misunderstand the reason for exercise, or the function or the role the exercise plays in our daily life. Sometimes when you start doing exercise for the wrong reason, you may end up again back with consequences versus reward. So you want to put exercise in the right framework. It's and find the one that, or the activity that brings you or gives you that reward you're looking for. Exercise is amazing for learning, amazing for memory, amazing for energy. You're it's so if the coffee is the thing, exercise can replace that extra coffee that you may want to take at nighttime, or at 7 p.m. or at 4 p.m. at work, to give you that extra boost, knowing that the extra boost may interfere with your sleep. And it's good to have fun with it. There are no two runs that are the same. Try something different. Consistency is key, but consistency does not mean the same. Consistency, maybe I exercise 3 days a week. It may be different depending on the day. I may do yoga today. I may do a 1 mile or 2 mile the next day. I may do a 5K the next day. So just make it fun. And it's always better when you have some accountability partner, or somebody who can encourage you to go with it, especially when you're starting. Because when you have that buddy system going on, or that person who is helping you, like, okay, did you exercise today? Get up, let's go and stuff, where you can do it together. It makes it much more fun, more rewarding, and its results is more sustainable. Your environment. Remember, as I started, I said epigenetics. Environment is key. You want to create an environment that will help you to maintain the habits, or help you to keep those promises you've made to yourself. So if you are in a place where, okay, nutrition is where I need to start, you want to make sure you clean out your refrigerator. You can have the junk and then look at it and look at it and say, well, I'm not going to eat it. I'm just keeping it there for my kids. Well, the kids don't really need it either. So you want to make sure you're creating an environment that will support your highest values. You want to have your kids do it in front of your kids and model it, because kids are amazing. At the end of the day, we have a lot going on, so many distractions, that sometimes as you go through life, you're not really spending time with the kids. So make it where we're doing this, we're creating an environment, we're bringing everybody into the picture, where you're not just exercising, you're spending time with your kids, you're having fun. It's like three in one. Your environment, everybody's on board with it. And even going on with the kids too, your kids are watching you, and you're modeling those behaviors. You're eating the way you want your kids to eat when they're older. You're behaving the way you want your kids to behave when they're your age. So we want to be able to, as we make those decisions, as we think about your why, it has to be beyond you. It has to be for you, for your kids, for generations to come. And as you start making those changes, be adaptable. Get your kids involved too, and just find different things that work, and be flexible with changing here and there. Because of course you want to have fun with it. Because sometimes when you start again, like I said, consistency is not the same. When you start with consistency and you try to stay the same, it becomes boring. It becomes, everybody wants to wiggle out of that box because it's just not fitting. So you want to be flexible and use it as a time to build relationship too, with words, with stress management, and getting everybody involved. Family culture. This kind of puts everything together, right? Because if your why is beyond yourself and you're getting your family involved, you want to start creating family cultures that are consistent with your core values. You don't want to do things again just because that's how we've done it. Be intentional about why we're doing what we're doing. Whether it's okay, because we're a busy family, we don't get together. Maybe it's every Sunday we're going to sit down and have a meal together, connect with each other, build relationships with each other, actually see each other and get to know each other. Whether it's creating routines when you're starting habits. Again, habits are things we do every single day. In order for it to work, or in order for our kids to work, they're creatures of, we are all creatures of habit. It's creating the routine where as you start doing it, everybody's online. When we wake up in the morning, we make up our bed, we have breakfast, we get out of the house, everybody knows what they're supposed to do. And we do it. It's not like today I'll say, okay, you have to make up your bed. Tomorrow, no, you don't have to make up your bed. We're running late. The next day is something. So when the kids know that you're not consistent with anything, anything flies. They will try to do whatever just pleases them, just sit there. And then creating boundaries are important. And as you create boundaries, rules and consequences, rewards and consequences, we want to make sure we're following through with whatever reward or consequence system we set in place. And use the family time as a time of gratitude too. Use your words kindly in front of your kids, especially where we're talking about our role models, what we like about others, what we look forward to others, as opposed to a time where we're complaining about what's not going right, but being in that state of gratitude, and because gratitude is healing as well. So, as I have gone through this, with all the different things, this is a time to kind of picture like what a life of wellness, which is a life full of energy, a life of joy, free of disease, a life of balance. What does that look like for you? Because again, we're all very different people, and it may look one way for me and look one way for the other person. What will it be like to have to go about life without having to take or pack pills and count pills each day, or worry about side effects of medications like I did? What would that look like for you if you start making those changes? And what's the one thing you can do today based on the information you have today? What is that one thing? What's that one area of your life you think, oh, maybe I'm out of balance here? What can I start changing or doing to move more towards balance? So, if this resonates with you and you find that, yes, I am ready, I want to start, I want to make the change and stuff, and you need more information about that, I am creating a course, the Healthy Habit Blueprint course. It is an 8-week course where we'll go through everything I went into in more detail and give you simple practical steps in each area. So if you've gotten an area, maybe it's in sleep and you want to start out with a sleep, we can walk you through the different things that may be inhibiting your sleep, or whether it's your nutrition or movement, or it's the mindset, or if you want to start creating a family culture for you and your family. We kind of cover all the information, and we have weekly pre-recorded sessions, and then weekly live sessions where we kind of go through and walk through that together, so you can have some kind of action steps that you can take for yourself and for your family. We'll also have Q&A sessions too. So I will you can sign up for to get on the waiting list on drlummd.com. There's an area for you to sign up in, and we'll send more information for you to you. So the course is going to start on this 27th. Again, the 27th we'll have like a live session, and then we have pre-recorded sessions with that will go through all those different components and kind of help you so that you can start creating those habits for you and your family for generations to come.